You may or may not have noticed, Jacob, but over the last year or 20, people have had a really big fascination with creepy-ass clowns.
It's been a thing, for sure.
Anything you can do with a creepy clown does big numbers. I am about all creepy clowned out.
I don't know if I'll ever be creepy clowned out, to be honest with you. I'm just going to be real.
But then my opinion sort of changed.
Okay.
You and I were looking around horror trailers on new stuff to see what we could talk about.
Trying to find anything to talk about.
Right, back in the early days of the podcast. And we came across this movie. We, at the time, were pronouncing it Badoet. But now we know better. It's called Badoet. And we kind of, I don't want to say we fell in love with it, but it definitely had our interest.
We were intrigued.
They sent us the movie so we could watch it, and I think we're still the only U.S. review for Badoet. It is maybe one of the better, if not the best, clown flick that I've seen in years. I mean, I put it above the John Watts / Eli Roth, clown from back then.
Absolutely.
Part of what makes it so good is that it spans so much of horror. It has so many, like, if there's a subgenre you can think of in horror, you're probably going to find it in this movie.
Which normally fucks a movie over. Movies try to be too busy. And I remember you said that. Like, you saw it before I did, and you didn't really give away too much, but you just said this movie basically hits everything. I was like, oh, I don't know, man. And then I watched it, I was like, holy shit, it's really good. It does hit everything. Like, you get a little bit of torture in there, you get a little bit of, like, exorcism in there, which I fucking hate, but it worked.
Yep.
You get the clown, the supernatural, little slasher-esque kind of moments. I mean, I'm dumbfounded that they did all that and it actually worked and it felt good. It felt right.
It works. It really does. The main storyline is kind of simple. Like, we don't get too carried away with the story, and that's kind of how I think horror movies not should be, but there's a special place in my heart for just good old-fashioned simple horror. So it's a group of people in an apartment complex that there are little kids in this apartment complex, and they're all told to stay away from this specific
field with like
it's like a carnival
thing. Yeah,
I think they call it a night fair.
Yeah.
But they're told to stay away from that, at least when it's not open and in business. One of the kids goes, as kids do, they go over there anyway.
Right.
And finds this music box, fucks with this music box, and then horrible things start to happen. I mean, that's basically the gist.
This one feels classic while still being modern, if that makes any sense. Which it
doesn't make sense,
but it's like that's what it is.
Yeah,
I mean, that's the best way to describe this thing.
It doesn't make sense at all. I mean, and it's something that I actually put in my review. Is like, well, it feels like I wanted to call it a very traditional horror movie because there are moments of it that really are, but then it's coupled with some things that you would not have seen in a traditional horror movie. I mean, you have a really cool electronic-centric musical composition that, admittedly, it does feel kind of out of place every once in a while, but mostly it just gets you fucking pumped up, ready to see what's going on. And there's some rather taboo violence that you wouldn't normally see in a more traditional horror film.
Which is weird because a lot of the movie feels very like feels very PG or PG-13-esque, you know? It feels kind of very
slightly reserved.
Right, and then all of a sudden some of that shit happens, you're like, oh, okay, I wasn't ready for that.
Yeah, there's so much in the movie that people that enjoy leaving some of the violence to your imagination, like those kind of people will be happy. There are moments where what happens is implied and occurs off screen. There are other moments that are not. and they occur to individuals that it's not really kosher here in the old US of A.
It's not it's not something you usually see if ever really on your American horror film.
I don't think I have ever seen anything.
And that's what I was trying to think too. I was like, when is the last time I've seen such a implied violent thing like that in the US? And I don't think I have.
Like, I think I remember just being like perking up in my chair like, oh fuck.
I was just looking at the screen going, okay, we did that. we did that. I think this is one of those films that everyone who always constantly bitches about modern horror sucks compared to old school horror. I think this is one, if they can get their hands on it, that they're going to be like, all right, this is good.
Yeah, if you can get your hands on it, which I don't think you can for a while,
it's unfortunately. Going to be a minute.
And you're not one of those people that avoids subtitles. If you're not one of those maniacs. then this will be something that really hits home for a lot of people. It's simple. It's simple in its approach, yet incredibly complex. And I know that sounds just pretentious and, smug, but it's really not. Like, it's one of those things that's really hard to describe. And even when I was writing, I was like, man, I don't know if anyone's going to understand this. And then, like, we talk about it briefly, and we kind of all said
same things.
Yeah. So that gives me hope that when everyone else gets their hands on it, and from the interactions that we've had with people on Twitter that saw it in cinemas in Indonesia, everyone seems to be on the same page here.
Like, this thing can be a big movie with the right hands involved. And I'm excited to see that. I hope that happens.